that model makes a ton of sense. And you mentioned like the culture, which I think is probably one of the most important elements that people are looking for right now in their careers. It's just that finding a spot, like a second family, right? Like you're spending more time probably with your coworkers or online at this point with where you work. I'd love to hear a little bit like about like what makes a good culture in your opinion, and also like what have you done like with like the COVID, being more virtual? Is there any tips that you have to like try to make culture tough? Because that is like one of the toughest things that I think companies of all sizes struggle with.
Yeah, I agree. Culture for me is huge. I just, and I know this sounds kind of trite, but you want to align with folks and kind of have a similar vision. Now, it's okay if they challenge you from a point of view or an opinion and so forth, as long as they do it in a way that's reciprocal and polite. And so there's nothing wrong with having engagement with conversation, but you want to make sure it's the same kind of values that you have, because you want to feel good about working with the folks that you work with and share some things. We don't have to have the same taste in music, but we probably both like music, so we want to talk about some cool stuff that we've listened to in the past. So some tips for that. A lot of it is, especially remotely, is staying engaged. One of the things I implemented when I first got there was we split the creative department into two. And looking back on my days in software development and agile, even though we're an agency and I could talk for like years on like how to like transform an agency into an agile agency based on software, but I wanted to try to do some of those practices, which were stand-ups. So I wanted to have just a check-in every morning. So my team, we check in for like 15 minutes, and it's just a quick little round table of, hey, how you doing today? What are you working on? What do you need help with? What did you do yesterday? How's your dog? Fun things like that. And then, great, have a great day, and we'll see you later. And that's just been something that everybody looks forward to. You just check in. You've got meetings, which are nice, but this is just a simple, hey, how you doing? It's the whole, when you first get to work, or you used to get to work and you have coffee and everybody's kind of walking around asking each other how their day was or what they do last night. So it's kind of the same thing, but we're just a couple minutes and then we launch it. The other thing that the agency does, which I think is amazing, is on Fridays we will have a virtual happy hour. And we look forward to that as well. So that's usually at 3. They've done some wonderful things, like they've sent us like a pizza making kit. At one point, cool. We got this random thing.
That's awesome.
When I started at the agency, my very first day, there was a doorbell ring, and I went there, and it was DoorDash, and they had delivered this huge box of donuts to me. And that's their thing that they do.
That's a nice touch. That's a nice touch. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds kind of simple, but hey, it is. It's a nice touch. It's like, oh, this is cool. I got that, and I got like a T-shirt and a cool little backpack, and it's like. So it's just letting people know that, hey, we are so excited that you've joined us and you matter to us. And so, here's this really neat little thing just to kind of make your day a little brighter.
No, that's great.
And it truly feels like that. Feels like at any given time, someone is out there wanting to know, hey, are you doing okay today? I know we're all working on projects and design and stuff, but just want to check in with you and make sure everything's okay. And you can get beyond just the business, the day-to-day business, and just be honest with each other, have conversations.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, like, culture is something that takes so many, there's so many layers and ways to do it, but at the root of any good culture is the people. So it's like, if you can have people that care about it and are willing to allocate time away from like, being in Figma or Webflow or whatever software you're using, and taking time on like the people element, I think that'll ultimately be like way better. So it totally resonates with me. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like the future of like the basement, like the direction. Sure. I mean, tech is at like a crazy kind of crossroads, different industries. I guess like what excites you personally, and where do you think the basement's going to be going in the next couple of years, like short term strategy wise?
Oh man, that is a great question. I know that we are wanting to grow aggressively. We've got big plans to reach into different markets to expand our capabilities. They've made the choice to hire folks in mature positions who have really varied backgrounds, and you can tell that they specifically picked out people. So, it's always good to have a mixture, right? You want to make sure you have junior and senior, but a lot of times the senior folks tend to get rolled over, and you kind of like, okay, well, I can get two junior folks for this, or I can get this one person who maybe is a little bit more mature, but I just don't know if it's going to work for us. So they take a chance on that. They said, no, we really want to make sure that we've got some senior leadership that follows our culture, that moves us forward, and that helps us engage with some of these new clients. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. From a technology point of view, all cards are on the table. I'm really super pumped to get into voice activated UX. That's been my own personal thing that I want to keep pushing, because it's every year we get another several million, if not billion, consumers buying smart speakers, and so that experience just keeps growing, and a lot of folks are kind of ignoring that, especially some of these more mature industries, because they don't want to consider it. So it's like, hey, if you've got a product that connects to a smart home, then you can probably imagine that folks are shopping that way as well. So that's another thing you need to take into consideration.
No. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Design Huddle. The opinions expressed are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our employer.